choices. You want to think about one of the things that was in the Hillary Clinton emails was they were I think Huma Abedin was describing option paralysis or something, decision fatigue. She was saying you get assaulted with decisions to make every day and it tires you out. And Hillary Clinton replied, "That's me," to the letter, or something like that. And that's something that you want to keep that in mind. You want to keep in mind decision fatigue and option paralysis, because freedom, lack of limitation, and endless options are not necessarily your friend all the time, most of the time. Some of the greatest things are, like, look up Dog Me 95. Okay, this is a set of criteria for filmmaking that I think Lars von Trier came up with. Think about the great paintings by the old masters, by people who were restrained to a canvas of this dimension, these dimensions, and oil paint, and that's it. Like think of old films like Citizen Kane, any Hitchcock films, anything with really beautiful cinematography. Think of the limitations that they had at that time. Okay, think of the limitations that film brings with it. You've got this piece of celluloid or whatever film is made of, and to edit film, you have to cut it and then splice it back together with tape. Okay, think about the way they used to do shit and how time-consuming it was. These are examples of limitations and the lack of options, the lack of freedom, because I think those things they are conducive to creating great art. And I think the reason, I think it's as simple as this. I think it's just that it's simply that when you have limitations, you don't have to think about shit. Like if you are in a 3D program, if you're picking out shaders and you're doing, you're doing animation and rigging and picking out lights and things. If you have infinite creative options, if you can do literally anything, you spend so much time thinking about making these major decisions. I mean, when you're editing old school, real, physical film, there's a whole bunch of decisions that are taken out of the mix for you. They're like you can only your edits have to be this certain way. You can't do this crazy bullshit. You have to have a certain type of lighting because you have to get a certain amount of light onto the film or it's not going to work, etc., etc. I mean, there's plenty of room for creativity, but these major decisions have been taken care of for you. And decision fatigue and option paralysis are very real things. I mean, you just think about any time you've tried to order something on Amazon, and what I tend to do is I type in what brand sweatpants does Shia LaBeouf wear, and that takes care of the decision for me. But if you just go type in best sweatpants or sweatpants on Amazon, and think about this yourself. When was the last time you were confronted with 50 to 100 choices? It's stressful. So I think that's simply the major reason why limitation is conducive to artistic greatness. It's just because when you have too fucking much going on, you can't. It's crazy. One of the major things that happened in car design from the 80s to the 90s to the 2000s was, first of all, they went from traditional design materials. So if you look up Lamborghini Countach design, there will be clay models, there will be charcoal drawings on the wall, it's just drawings and models. That's how they did it. And they still use drawings, they still do models, but starting in the late 80s, the introduction of CAD design, which You're going from this very definite, and I don't care how good these people think they are at CAD design and how good you are at computers. When you have a chunk of clay, or when you have a empty piece of paper to draw on, it's a fundamentally different exercise for the brain to create something in those spaces versus creating something in CAD design. And I don't care how, if you're Asian, if you started doing computer design at age 2, okay, it doesn't matter. It is a different thing. When you can just click a button and and create any shape that you can imagine, and delete it and undo it and duplicate it and move it around, versus this clay where if you take too much away, you have to start over, you have to patch it up. It's some time-consuming process, okay? It's not free. You don't get free undos with clay models and with drawings. It's costly. So you have to actually think about what you're doing before you do it, which will have a different effect than if you're just fucking clicking a mouse and undoing and redoing shit. And then the other thing that happened was the car production went from steel and aluminum and materials that were costly and real and had weight to them and were difficult to work with, going from that to plastic, to hydroformed fucking ABS plastic, and not only the transition from materials, but the ability to work with steel, the ability to work with older materials in new ways, so that you can basically create any shape that you can imagine. So this coupled with
I don't know what that means.
This coupled with the CAD design means that you can now have cars that look like a bubbly alien women's shoe / sex toy. Okay? You no longer have these fenders that you'd have to hammer out or shape in a traditional way. The shapes that you can create no longer have to honor the making process, the constraints of the materials. You are totally unlimited, which is why you end up with cars that look like this fucking Honda CR, the new Honda CR-V over here. They look like fucking, like something out of Halo, like bug wagons. They look like bug wagons. That's what new cars look like. I mean, this right here, this E3. Okay, so we reached the 4 gigabyte limit on the Google Pixel. And for those of you, I'm going to upload my Google Pixel review, but I guess there's a 4 gigabyte limit on recording video, which fucking makes total sense. Because when you buy a $900 fucking phone in the future, I want to break my car right now. Fuck! When you buy a $900 phone in the future, you definitely need to keep it limited to 4 gigabytes of video. Fuck this phone.